A 35-year-old chef chats with her parents, laughs, says goodnight, and vanishes into thin air. Her passport and money are left untouched on the kitchen counter, yet her work uniform is missing. A perfectly normal evening, instantly shattered by a mystery that haunts investigators today. This is the story of Claudia Lawrence. To truly grasp the chilling nature of this case, one must first understand the quiet predictability of the life that was interrupted. In the spring of 2009, York, England, was a city steeped in history, defined by its ancient cobbled streets, grand cathedral, and the steady, academic rhythm of its university. It was not a place known for unsolved horrors. Within this picturesque setting lived a 35-year-old woman, whose existence was anchored by routine. Employed as a chef at the University of York's Goodricke College, Claudia's world revolved around the demanding, unglamorous reality of early kitchen shifts. Her schedule required her to be out the door before dawn, navigating the dark, frigid morning air while most of the city was still asleep. Living alone in a cozy terraced house on Heworth Road, nestled in a tranquil residential suburb just east of the city center, there was a sense of utter security to her environment. Heworth was the kind of neighborhood where residents recognized one another, where nothing much happened, and where a person walking home alone on a weekday afternoon wouldn't warrant a second glance. March 18th was a Wednesday, a scheduled day off from the university kitchens. The hours were spent the way most people navigate their free time, running mundane errands, moving at a leisurely pace, and checking off small tasks. Surveillance cameras scattered across York captured brief glimpses throughout the morning and early afternoon. The footage revealed nothing out of the ordinary. Just a woman going about her business, blending seamlessly into the bustling daytime crowds. Around 3:05 p.m., a final confirmed sighting occurred. CCTV recorded the chef walking along Heworth Road, heading toward home. Slung over one shoulder was a familiar blue and gray rucksack. Inside that bag were the trademark chef's whites, already washed, folded, and packed for the grueling shift awaiting the following dawn. Turning toward the front door of the terraced property, the timeline of normalcy abruptly ended. That evening, the quiet domestic routine continued from within the house. 2 phone calls were made, one to a mother and another to a father. Neither conversation contained even a hint of distress. The dialogue consisted of the standard, comforting chatter that flows between family members, checking in, discussing mundane updates, and sharing a few laughs. By every account, the mood was light. Goodnights were exchanged, the line disconnected. Then, the world simply went quiet. When Thursday morning arrived, the alarm clock inside the Heworth Road home either rang to an empty room or was silenced by an unknown hand. Down at the university kitchens, the 6 a.m. start time came and went. In the culinary industry, reliability is paramount. Professional kitchens operate like clockwork, and an unannounced absence is entirely out of character for a dedicated employee. Colleagues immediately felt a creeping sense of unease. They understood the work ethic of their coworker. Simply failing to show up was unthinkable. Calls were dialed, voicemails were reached. Hours dragged on with no response, transforming mild concern into genuine alarm. By the time authorities were contacted, and officers eventually breached the front door of the Heworth Road residence, the scene they discovered would become the baffling focal point of a decades-long mystery. The interior of the house yielded no signs of a struggle. There was no forced entry, no overturned furniture, no pools of blood. Instead, investigators found a haunting tableau of a life paused mid-sentence. A handbag sat securely in the living space. Nearby rested a passport, bank cards, and a purse containing cash. All the essential lifelines required for a voluntary disappearance were left entirely untouched. Yet, glaringly absent were the specific items needed for a Thursday morning kitchen shift. The blue and gray rucksack was gone. The chef's whites were gone. A pair of hair straighteners, often used before heading out, was missing. And the mobile phone, a silver Samsung D900, was nowhere to be found. This specific combination of missing and remaining items terrified investigators. A person staging a sudden, voluntary flight takes their identification and their money. They do not leave their passport behind only to pack their work uniform. The physical evidence pointed toward a chilling conclusion. Someone had intentionally curated the scene. The perpetrator had removed the work bag to create the illusion that the victim had woken up, gotten dressed, and simply left for work as usual. It was a calculated move designed to buy time, delaying the inevitable moment when the alarm would be raised. As North Yorkshire Police launched what would become Operation Cabin, the investigation quickly morphed into one of the largest, most financially draining, and intensely scrutinized inquiries in modern British history. Millions of pounds were authorized. Thousands of man-hours were logged. Detectives meticulously retraced the route from Heworth to the university, sweeping every inch of the neighborhood, knocking on hundreds of doors, and interviewing countless residents. While the physical search turned up empty, a digital ghost began to emerge. The missing Samsung D900 provided a terrifying breadcrumb trail. Cell site analysis, a forensic technique that tracks the connection between a mobile device and local network masts, revealed that the phone had not traveled far. Throughout the night of March 18th and into the morning of the 19th, the device continued to ping towers in the immediate Heworth area. It remained stationary, silently connecting to the network from somewhere nearby, as if hidden in a neighboring property or discarded in a close-by alley. Then came the detail that continues to keep cold case detectives awake at night. At exactly 12:10 p.m. on Thursday, March 19th, the phone's signal vanished. It did not fade out due to a depleted battery. It did not short-circuit from water damage. Forensics confirmed that the device was powered down manually. Someone had held that silver Samsung in their hand, pressed the power button, and deliberately severed the digital tether. This singular action spoke volumes. It indicated daylight, calculation, and a cold, rational decision to eliminate a tracking vulnerability. The person holding that phone knew precisely what they were doing. By 2010, the agonizing reality could no longer be denied. North Yorkshire Police formally reclassified the case. It was no longer a search for a missing person, it was a murder investigation. Authorities operated on the grim assumption that a homicide had occurred, the body expertly concealed, and the killer seamlessly reintegrated into the local population. The profile of the perpetrator began to take shape. Investigators strongly theorized that this was not the work of a random predator stalking the streets of York. The logistics required to abduct an adult from a residential neighborhood without a trace, combined with the intimate knowledge of the victim's work schedule and packing habits, suggested a prior relationship. The killer likely knew about the dawn shifts. They knew about the blue rucksack. They possessed the comfort level required to navigate the Heworth area undetected. Over the ensuing years, the investigation experienced a series of explosive surges followed by devastating standstills. A staggering total of 8 men were arrested in connection with the disappearance. In 2014, a coordinated police operation led to the arrest of 5 individuals. Many of these men were firmly embedded in the same social circles as the victim, frequenting local pubs and sharing mutual acquaintances. Search warrants were executed across properties in York. Forensic tents were erected, and the media descended on the city, sensing an imminent breakthrough. Yet, as the weeks passed, the Crown Prosecution Service determined that the evidence, while highly suspicious, remained entirely circumstantial. Securing a murder conviction in the United Kingdom, without a body, without a confession, and without definitive biological evidence, is a monumental legal hurdle. All 5 men were released without charge. A year later, in 2015, a 6th man was taken into custody. The cycle of breathless headlines and subsequent disappointment repeated itself. No charges were brought. By 2018, cold case specialists employing advanced forensic techniques, methods entirely unavailable during the initial 2009 sweeps, prompted the arrest of 2 additional suspects. But once again, the threshold for prosecution could not be met. 8 arrests. 8 individuals brought into interview rooms, questioned under caution, and ultimately allowed to walk back out into the world. Throughout this agonizing decade of legal dead ends, one voice cut through the procedural noise with devastating clarity. Peter Lawrence, a fiercely devoted father, refused to let his daughter's name fade into the archives of unsolved mysteries. Taking on the heavy mantle of public advocacy, Peter became a fixture on national television. A former solicitor himself, he understood the legal machinery better than most, and he weaponized that knowledge to keep the pressure squarely on the authorities. He spearheaded press conferences, met with government ministers, and stood before cameras with a stoic, heartbreaking dignity. He candidly criticized early investigative missteps, continuously demanding fresh reviews of the evidence. Beyond merely searching for answers, Peter achieved a monumental legislative victory. He tirelessly campaigned for what became known as Claudia's Law, formerly the Guardianship Missing Persons Act 2017. This groundbreaking UK legislation allowed families of missing individuals to finally take control of their loved ones' financial and legal affairs after a period of 90 days, easing the crippling bureaucratic paralysis that accompanies a sudden disappearance. But despite changing the law of the land, Peter could not force the truth into the light. In February 2021, after 12 years of relentless campaigning, Peter Lawrence passed away at the age of 74. He died without a shred of closure, never knowing how his daughter's life ended or where her remains were hidden. The tragic poetry of a father spending his twilight years fighting a ghost, only to succumb to illness while the killer walked free, remains the deepest wound of this entire saga. Following Peter's death, the investigation did not halt. Just months later, In late 2021, North Yorkshire Police initiated a massive specialized search operation at the Sand Hutton gravel pits, located roughly 8 miles outside of York. Such intense logistical deployments are never random. They are invariably triggered by highly specific intelligence. The site itself was a forensic nightmare, a sprawling expanse of dense woodland, muddy embankments, and deep, murky fishing lakes. Specialist underwater search units, ground-penetrating radar teams, and cadaver dogs scoured the rugged terrain for weeks. The area was cordoned off, and the public held its collective breath, anticipating the grim discovery that would finally close the book on Operation Cabin. Once again, the earth yielded nothing. The teams packed up their equipment. The cordons were removed. The gravel pits returned to silence. Today, 16 years have passed since the line disconnected on that final evening phone call. The terraced house on Heworth Road has long since changed hands. The university campus has expanded. The city of York continues its steady, historic rhythm. Yet, beneath the surface of this charming northern city lies an unbearable truth. The perpetrator has spent over a decade and a half blending in. They have watched the news broadcasts. They have seen the desperate pleas of a dying father. They have lived with the knowledge of exactly what transpired between the hours of 8 p.m. on March 18th and 6 a.m. the following morning. Advancements in forensic science offer a glimmer of perpetual hope. A single microscopic fiber, a degraded fragment of DNA missed in 2009, or a shifting allegiance among those who know the truth could detonate this cold case overnight. The file remains open, and detectives continue to monitor the digital and physical archives, waiting for the slightest crack in the killer's armor. Until that crack appears, the legacy of that chilly March night remains suspended in time. A work bag packed for a shift that never happened, a mobile phone powered down by a stranger's hand, and a family left to navigate an endless, agonizing void. The mystery endures, the killer remains free, and the question of what truly happened in the dark hours before dawn continues to echo through the empty spaces left behind.